Let's call to order at 7:02 p.m. Ms. Bress, may we have a roll call?
Student trustee Tam,
Here.
student trustee Miles,
Here.
student trustee Seipel,
Here.
student trustee Rajan,
Here.
trustee Gallegos,
Here.
trustee Lee,
Here.
vice president Tejada,
Here.
president Walker.
Here, thank you. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No.
Seeing no changes, the chair will entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have some minutes from our last meeting on January 13th. Would anyone like to move to approve them?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving right along here. Section 5, we have recognitions and commendations. Our speaker is Oceana High School Principal Maritza Torres. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Walker and members of the board. I am here to honor Lawrence, and I have a whole spiel to read that has lots of voices besides my own. But I just want to say that it feels extra special to honor Lawrence tonight because he's in my advisory class, and he's been in it for this entire school year, and it's been really great getting to know him and playing hopefully not too wacky games in advisory. All right, so Lawrence is a respectful and welcoming student who demonstrates exceptional dedication to his courses. He arrives each day ready to engage deeply with complex thinking and consistently gives his best effort. He is an exceptional student. Ms. Middle shares that in AP Calculus, you can often find Lawrence helping his teammates, asking questions, or working diligently as he works to understand the new content. Lawrence stands out for his incredible passion for science and his love of learning. In AP Chemistry, Ms. Hodder shares that Lawrence is not only a dedicated student who is truly invested in learning, but he's also an amazing peer, as he patiently tutors other students and supports them with positivity and grace. Mr. Duca, Lawrence's senior exhibition mentor, comments how he is consistent and persistent in all of his work. He puts in lots of effort in everything he does and is just a delightful student. Ms. Anderson, his Spanish teacher, agrees that Lawrence is super thoughtful and always has a positive attitude about learning, even in a subject that is not his primary passion. He is a student who is always invested in learning for the sake of learning. Lawrence helps lead the badminton club. There you can see his passion for not only the sport, but for also creating a space for others to have fun and play. He keeps a very organized system to be able to schedule days for the school to have an open gym, as well to communicate it promptly and clearly to the whole club. His support of the Oceana community has been tremendous. As the co-president of the Future Medical Professionals Club, he has spent countless hours this year preparing lessons for his peers, setting up labs, and training underclassmen to lead lab stations in suturing, dissections, and cell biology during club flex time meetings. He has even brought new ideas for labs to our physiology teacher, who has adopted Lawrence's lessons into his own class. You can join him in the spring for his lessons on how to take a patient's blood pressure or to perform neurology tests. Lawrence is remarkable in so many ways. He's undertaking a Herculean effort to meet as many college general education requirements as possible through community college courses. Along with his work in Oceana classes, he takes multiple classes where he has studied not only chemistry, anatomy, and physiology, but also art history and public speaking. In addition, Lawrence volunteers at Mills Peninsula Hospital, where he has undergone hours of training for his work as a hospital volunteer and has over 300 hours of community service for the Boys and Girls Club. Lawrence brings such a positive attitude to whatever space he is in, and he is extremely well-deserving of this award. He has a drive to share his knowledge and expertise. Lawrence's dedication, curiosity, and compassion are gifts to his future patients as he aims for a career in healthcare or emergency medicine. Lawrence will attend Skyline College this fall, where we are confident he will continue to embrace all of their learning opportunities as he done at Oceana. We're excited to celebrate Lawrence as the Student of the Year.
Thank you, by the way, for all the applause. And thank you to Ms. Torres for nominating me as the student of the year for Oceana High School.
Right on. Congratulations. We're going to do some board comments, then a photo. Is that right? Student trustees. Anyone want to go first?
I can start. I don't
Please
mind. Okay, so Lawrence goes to my school and I work with him I have multiple classes with him over this year and last year. And I love that he's getting recognition for how much work he puts in. I'm in the same club as him for future medical professionals, and Lawrence puts in so many hours. He's constantly updating us, and whatever he does it with the highest detail, and he puts in so much time and effort into everything he does. So it's really amazing to see. And also, yeah, like as someone in his classes, he's always there. Whenever I have a question, I can always go to him because he's always very kind and patient when I don't understand something right away. Or any student, he's just always there as like a shoulder to lean on. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other student trustees?
I can go next. I don't really know you personally, but you seem really passionate about neurology, and I'm glad you're getting recognized for it.
Oh yeah, getting recognition for all the hard work that you put in, especially for your school, is always awesome, and congratulations.
Congratulations on this award. This is a really great honor for you, and it really motivates students like me to keep trying and enriching our education. So great job.
Lawrence, congratulations. Just kind of listening to all those accolades that were been, spewed out there, the AP Chem, AP Calc, co-pres of Future Medical Professionals Club, 300 hours of community service. That's a hell of a resume already for a young man like yourself. So very proud of you for putting in all that hard work. I mean, it obviously looks like you do it because you're passionate about it and you love what you do. And, from just hearing from your fellow student over there, your fellow, a classmate, just on how detailed you are and how easygoing you are when it comes to all this stuff, says a lot about your character. So sounds like you want to be a doctor of some sort. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
in medicine, you want to
either,
study medicine
yeah, potentially medicine or nursing.
or nursing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you make it to be a doctor, let me know. I'll look you up someday because I'll probably need one by the time you get around to it. But I also, just, great job, obviously. Great job being an influence on your fellow classmates, being recognized for that hard work. Just continue on that path and, whatever you're drinking, kick some down over here because I need some of that. Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Lawrence. Really job well done. And considering all the work you've done to help your peers, other students, and helping your community, it's pretty clear that you're going to be an incredible medical professional. And I'll just put a plug in for nursing because my wife's a nurse and I know what amazing work they do. So either way, you're going to be an incredible asset to this community and to the medical field as well.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Lawrence. I'm really proud of you. You really exemplify the type of student that we like to grow here in our district. And I'd like to thank the Oceana community for helping you along and your family, for giving us the honor of having you, because this also makes us, it sheds a light on why we do what we do. And this is like some of the most, when we honor our students of the year, it's just some of the most special moments that we have here as board members. What I love is that you are so willing to share your knowledge, and that even from badminton club, keeping it organized, that's the stuff no one likes to do. But I could see that. I could see you running, a nursing station. I could see you running an ER, because you're already trying to make sure things run smoothly. So no one else has to think about it. You're running it. And just the fact that your physiology teacher is already teaching your lessons, super amazing. Somehow build that into a college application, and I could tell you don't like getting accolades. It's a little embarrassing for us to say all these great things about you, but you're so well deserving of it. And I'm very happy to meet you, and I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for everything, and for helping your fellow students, and for making us look good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Becomes difficult to say unique things when you go behind so many thoughtful people. So again, congratulations. I think some other people have said this in different ways, but I think that a lot of what you've done here is kind of the hard part. Figuring out what you want, organizing a plan to get it done, executing that plan. You've kind of shared it around a little bit, it sounds like. Your experience is not just academic. Did I get this right? You volunteered for 300 hours at one place, and now you volunteer somewhere else. Is that right?
Yeah. I used to volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club at the middle school right to our high school, but I stopped going there during the summer since I started taking a bunch of community college classes. So I didn't really have the time to do that anymore.
You've organized your time as an Oceana parent, former Oceana parent, and a current Skyline parent. I think it's cool that you're following that path. So that's all fantastic. That's all things that you've learned how to do. I'm happy that you've done it. I do have a question. I have a couple questions. How old is the badminton club? Do you know?
As far as I know, it was actually started in my year in, I believe, 2022. There was a change in leadership where me and my friend actually became presidents for that club in 2023. And since then, we were the presidents since then. And we started a bunch of different initiatives in there. We started doing after school practices. We started hosting tournaments, and we're pretty consistent with our meetings and all that. For me specifically in that club, I was mainly invited as sort of a person that handles the back end of the stuff. So I created a database where we could organize and schedule all of that meetings and all that. And after that, I started just hosting recreational meetings after that.
Right on. And is the focus of the badminton club one day to be a varsity sport?
That was actually our priority at first in sophomore year, but I think several of us became burnt out after that year. But we did have a tournament. We did have some scrimmages during that year as well. I think we had one specifically with Terra Nova that year, but after that, we got pretty busy with schoolwork.
I can imagine. Thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Everyone has said wonderful things. Vice President Tejada actually took mine, which was just to say thank you so much for representing our district in such a positive way. We're really proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I think we're going to take a photo.
Yes.
feel like I have power.
Is that team?
Right next to Jerome. I'll go this one. Open it. Okay, ready? Everyone ready? 1, 2. Okay. Thank you.
So much.
Good job, and Lawrence and Marie said, I'll take it before.
Students in the room. I love it. Let's do a board report. Can we start with our student trustees? How about Oceana?
Okay, so we've had a pretty busy month at Oceana. We did a clothing drive. So it was like advisory based, and we kind of made it into a competition. So the advisor with the most clothing gets, usually we do food, something like that, just so that we can get more participation. We do have a rally upcoming, but our theme is still not yet revealed. So you guys will probably know that next time we meet. We are going to have Valentinegrams, and we've started to include a new thing where we serenade kids or anybody. It can be teachers or kids. We did this for Wintergrams. We like circled around people and we sang them Christmas carols, or just any winter song really. And yeah, you could pay to have certain people go from ASB and go and sing to other people. Yeah, we did a special election for freshman treasurer. We had our second Senior X deadline, one of our 8 a.m. deadlines. I believe we have one more left. We are doing class versus class basketball games during lunch. And then our mock trial teams have been heading to competitions. And since it's track and swim season, we've started tryouts for that. Our future medical professional club had our health fair. And yeah, we just previously had no name calling week as well, where we did some games during lunch. We did some like say something you're grateful for on a Post-it and you can get a donut, or like, some like mindful rock coloring, stuff like that, little things.
I understand your mock trial team is active right now.
Yes, today they did have a meeting. I don't know the term for it, but yes.
Right on. Go Sharks. Ethan.
Okay. To start off with, Westmore is having our annual TEDx Westmore event on this upcoming Thursday, the 29th. We provide a platform for student and adult speakers to share their ideas with this year's theme, Unheard Power. And actually, one of our board members, Mr. Lai, is one of our speakers. Yeah, so this Thursday after school, 4:30 to 6:30. And then we're having a debate competition on the 28th of February. The 20th of February. And Red Cross has been tabling for their upcoming blood drive. And this week was Westmore's Sports Spirit Week. Today's Spirit Day was wearing your favorite jersey. And UNICEF has been also tabling for to celebrate education. And FBLA is having our bass section competition on the 7th of February. Our engineering club, Mesa, is starting competitions with the registrations being open. We are having Valentine's Day Hearts coming up, and the course selections are due this Thursday. And then the spring sports began conditioning. I think badminton, boys volleyball, and I think that's it. Crafts to Give is starting a tote bag project, and the RAM code has been very successful. That is our way of doing like the students of the month, and it has gotten a lot of participation. And then lastly, Model UN is having a committee workshop. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Tam. Mr. Miles?
So at Jeff, Mission Fusion's having a show called Luna on the February 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think Friday and Saturday are just about full. So if you're looking to go, Thursday would be a good day. There's a robotics competition last Saturday in Half Moon Bay. Jefferson and Terra Nova are moving up in the rankings pretty well. The final tournament is going to be on February 7th. This week is our winter rally and Spirit Week. The theme of the rally is Minecraft versus Roblox. The music video being shot on Jeff's campus with the music artist La Russell is happening in 2 days. So there's a lot of clubs coming out there and trying to represent in the music video. A bunch of senior stuff came out, so things like hoodies, superlatives, and quotes got voted on. Track and field and a lot of the other spring sports are starting to condition as well. Our clubs are having a foods day where they can sell food on February 13th. And on the same day, both basketball and cheer are having their senior night. JCYC will have a Cash for College workshop to learn about federal aid and also paying for applications. And then there will also be a Valentine's Day lunchtime activity on February 11th.
I have a question. Are students going to be in this La Russell video?
Yeah, so clubs, especially cultural clubs are going to be representing. Everyone got consent form signed and everything. It's pretty well organized.
I don't remember receiving a consent form of my own. Perhaps if I was invited, I could show you how to Dougie. Just saying. Ms. Seipel.
All right. Hello, everyone. So on February 7th, Terra Nova has our winter formal coming up. The theme is La Dolce Vita. So the sweet life, kind of like an Italian theme. There's like a lot of posters with bright yellow colors all around the school. And tickets just went on sale yesterday. So a lot of students are starting to buy their tickets. The day before, we have a spirit rally, which I believe is the first rally of the second semester. I'm not sure if a theme has been announced. Last I heard it was Stranger Things. So hopefully that's still going. Spring sports are starting next week. So meetings for a lot of sports and conditioning are happening right now. This includes sports like badminton, softball, baseball, swimming, track and field. So as a lot of winter sports come to an end, students are getting ready for their spring sports. Our campus supervisors at Terra Nova have doubled, and additionally, our mock trial team had their first competition last Tuesday. They have another one again today, and last Tuesday, our JV team did really well and had a win, so that was very exciting. I was also at that mock trial meet, and I got to watch the team. The class of 29 is currently doing their Valentine's Day candygram drive to raise money, so that's great. And course selection is happening right now for a lot of kids. We're going to start meeting in the library to talk with counselors about possible courses for next year. So a lot of students are thinking about what they want to take. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot to report out. I do want to say, though, it is very impressive to listen to our students talk about all the cool things that are happening in school, because I don't remember school being that cool when I was back in the day. So it's really neat to hear about all the cool things that are happening. And I think the only thing I have to report out is I was at student advisory yesterday, and I got to listen to some of our students kind of freestyle a little rap real quick, which was real cool. And they asked me and Charette to partake, and we kindly declined, thankfully. But
I had nothing.
yeah, he drew a blank. So anyway, yeah, that's it for me. Looking forward to the TEDx talk on Thursday, though.
Indeed, feel free to come and heckle me when I'm speaking. No, I'm in all seriousness, I am looking forward to it and thankful to the Westmore team for reaching out and looking forward to participating. Just a couple of quick thoughts. I mean, I know the world around us is pretty heavy, and it's not been easy for most of us. Yeah, I was thinking about, though, fellow school board member who was arrested when she went and stormed that church a couple of weeks ago, Chantel Allen from St. Paul Public Schools. And she's an alum of the school board partners training that Ms. Tejada and I were part of last year. Ms. Allen was a part of the cohort a couple of years prior to us, in fact, was in the same cohort as former trustee Talima Salahuddin. And it just made me, what she did with the work that she did, it's the type of thing, it's the good trouble that I believe I need to continue to do, and that I think many of us want to be able to do in the environment that we're in. And whether it's a weekly protest out in Colma or on the coast side or going to San Francisco, or in my case, digging into the work to support the work of our educators in this district and to support you and to support our students and make sure that we have a safe space for our students to learn. That's my ongoing commitment in the work I do as a school board member. This is the place where I know I can make a direct impact in the lives of people, and this is the good trouble I will continue to do. So that's my commitment to you.
Thank you for that. I feel like crying every day. That's how it hits me. And, but I'm on calls, see what we can do for our immigrant communities and, fundraise for any of their legal costs. We're working on that together, you and I, with the Reach Coalition. I'm constantly reading up on what do I do if I get stopped? I'm a citizen, but so what? I'm brown. So that's always on my mind, and it stinks. It's awful. But I'm committed to keeping our students and our schools safe. And we're on this board. We're going to do whatever we can. Our whole district is committed to this, and that I'm thankful for.
Thanks, Trustee Lee. I couldn't say it better. I think that when I used to be a teacher, and I don't know, so my second or third year, that's when Columbine happened. And there was a big, it was the 90s, so not everyone was using email, but we had a big parents email list. And, a lot of parents were kind of like, well, should we be talking about it in class or should we not? And a lot of people were insisting that we should. And I commented in with, hey, I don't quite know what to do. I'm going to get 4 sentences into saying something and I'm going to break down in tears. So that's kind of how I feel now. I feel a little bit like we're in the twilight zone. Can't predict what's going to happen next. I stole that from another trustee last night to describe how I feel. So it seems unnecessarily light, but I'm going to say it anyway, that I've been attending school events. I've been focusing on sports because I may know someone on a JV soccer team. I also, while waiting for JV soccer, went to see Terra Nova play against Serramonte in basketball. I encourage everyone to get out there and encourage our students. Looks like I'll be attending a couple non-sports events this week on Thursday and probably next month as well. And I encourage you to do it because you'll feel better. It's kind of great to see the students in action. I will be attending a California School Boards Association training. I hope I come back really excited with all kinds of great news for you about it. I might even get 2 in before our next meeting. So I'll keep you posted about how that goes.
Thank you, President Walker. Ms. Presta sends her regrets tonight. She is off representing our school district at a superintendent's conference. So I will be standing in tonight, and I do not have anything else to report at this time.
Do we have any board subcommittee reports that need to report out? I don't think so. How about an AFT Local 1481 report? Ms. Casey.
Good evening, everyone. I spent last weekend, well, since Thursday, in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy the sunshine. I was in meetings with CFT and AFT leaders meeting. A lot of the talk was about keeping our students and our staffs safe, our communities safe. And I'm on probably 10 different committees, all about the same topic, but with different, different communities. So if you're interested in some of that, you can look at our AFT website, which is connected to the district website. If you go to the top at staff, it's there. And the updates are on the announcements page. We have a lot of future changes coming for AFT 1481, so just be listening for that. We have some voting and some negotiations and some other topics. And one thing I want to remind our members is we sent out a social questionnaire, like if you want to get involved in some different social activities through the union, and one of those is a political bent to it. So it's not just that, it's also, parenting or, faith-based or any other, different areas where people could have interests. So if you could please fill that out, I would appreciate it. And see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a consent agenda. Are there any questions about the consent agenda?
No. Move to approve consent.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I would just like to recognize Ms. Casey, who has announced her retirement after 25 years. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being such an incredible leader and friend. And also Lou Wynn with the adult school, 23 years retiring. So we've got people who love our district, and thank you for everything. We'll have time to celebrate you.
Thanks, Vice President Tejada. I'm glad you had that knowledge and to pick that out. Is there any public comment tonight?
We do not have any public comment this evening.
Okay, let's talk about discussion items. 10A1 is the district cell phone policy recommendation. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you. AB 3216 is California's Phone Free Schools Act, and it mandates that by July 1st, 2026, all school districts adopt policies to limit or prohibit student cell phone use during the school day. As a result of this legislation, we asked our Oceana High School principal, Maritza Torres, and Jefferson High School vice principal, Cesar Vega, to lead a cell phone committee to gather input. They will present their findings tonight, along with a recommendation for a policy. This is a discussion item, so following the presentation, there'll be time for questions and discussion. And the policy, if acceptable, will be placed on the consent agenda at our next regular meeting. Superintendent Presta is sorry that she's not here to let you know that she fully endorses the recommendations of this committee. And with that, I will pass it over to our committee.
All right. Thank you for having us tonight. Caesar's going to get us started.
I do want to thank President Walker and the rest of the board for having us here tonight and allowing us to present our findings and ultimately our recommendation for the smartphone policy. I am Cesar Vega, Vice Principal of Jefferson High School.
Maritz Torres, Principal at Oceana.
And I'm assuming we use this little guy to move us along. There we go.
Okay, so tonight we're going to do an overview of our committee's process. We're going to briefly touch on some of the research and the data that we collected. We want to share about TN's staff comments because of their implementation of the Yonder pouches. And then we'll go into what the board policy recommendation is, and then what our committee's recommendations are for next steps.
So we started, our objective was to form a committee to look at the board policy and make sure that we got significant input from each of our constituents. We set out with a survey to solicit members for our committee. We were able to get from our four of our schools from Jefferson, Oceana, Westmore, and Thornton High School. Ultimately, we ended up with 3 site admin, 7 teachers, 1 ERMS counselor, 1 floater sub, and 1 sped teacher, many of which are here today in support of the work we did. This is AB 3216. I won't read the whole thing, but I will highlight some of the major points. The mandate was that by July 1 of 2026, we form a policy that limits or prohibits smartphone use. That policy should involve significant stakeholder participation, and that policy may include enforcement mechanisms that limit access to smartphones. There are 4 conditions in which smartphones cannot be prohibited, and that is in case of emergency or in response to perceived threat of danger. When a teacher or administrator of the school district, county office of education, or charter school grants permission to a pupil to possess or use a smartphone, subject to any reasonable limitation imposed by that teacher or administrator. When a licensed physician or surgeon determines that the possession or use of a smartphone is necessary for the health or well-being of the pupil. And then finally, when the possession or use of the smartphone is required in a pupil's individualized education program. We started in May with this. Once we created the committee, we started in May because we wanted to hit this year with the ground running. So we wanted to have our introductory committee meeting in May. And at that meeting, we reviewed our objective. And we also looked at each of our schools' cell phone policies and those of the neighboring districts around us. In August, we began to develop and draft our survey. This took us 2 meetings because we were trying to ensure that the questions were relevant to all of our stakeholders. That way we could get significant input. On September 3rd, we finalized that survey and we distributed it out. We distributed it through district means, and we each asked each principal to distribute it through their school's communications as well. We also distributed that multiple times to try to ensure any opportunity for folks who may have missed it on the first couple rounds. On the 17th, we reviewed the survey results and compiled the data. And we were also able to hear from the Terra Nova administration on their newly implemented Yonder pouch policy, where students are required to lock their cell phone in a Yonder pouch for the entire school day. We heard about the challenges that they had and the successes they had in the newly implemented program. In October, we had 2 meetings where we had passionate discussions about the data we collected and which direction we wanted to move for this recommendation. And then finally, on October 29th, we redlined the current policy and came up with the presentation and the recommendation that we're going to give you today. Committee brought a variety of data to many of these meetings, but this is just a little bit of the data that we're presenting to you, or the findings that we're presenting to you. We had data that was for and opposed cell phone usage in schools. But one of the things we looked at was from Penn Today, where stricter policies are associated with better teacher-reported outcomes. Bell-to-belt bans are more common in elementary and middle school than it is in high school. And the most common storage policy is a no-show policy, which means as long as we don't see it, we're all good. CBS News reported that there's estimates of America's young people spend over 7 hours a day looking at a screen, and now more than 24 states are limiting scrolling through phones while in school. And then finally, Columbia University stated that the constant stream of notifications and updates can create a sense of urgency and a fear of missing out, leading to an increased anxiety and stress. Studies have shown a correlation between heavy social media use, depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidal ideation. And now a chance for us to look at the data. As I mentioned, we sent this survey out several times in order to solicit as much information as we could and to get as much input as we could. In our 5 schools, you'll notice that 4 of our schools in the staff overwhelmingly supports a bell-to-bell ban. However, in 3 of our schools, the parents and families, while they do support in 2 of our schools, we have less than 50% of that support. We'll also notice that Jefferson staff is less than 50% of supporting a bell-to-bell ban. One thing I wanted to mention too was that as part of the committee, and I forgot to mention this earlier, we did not include members from Terra Nova because there was concern that since they had just gone through their cell phone policy process, that was confused the members of the Terra Nova community, and we wanted to limit confusion. This may surprise nobody, but only 4% of students who responded were in favor of a bell-to-bell ban. And we wanted to look at some comments from folks who were participating and expressing their views on a cell phone policy. We had a Thornton student who feels that there's no reason to take a cell phone from people unless they're cheating on something. We had a Westmore teacher who feels that this burden of leasing the cell phone should not be put on teachers, that teachers have enough to do in a classroom, and this continues to evolve the job description. We had a Westmore parent who feels that they support taking cell phones away because if their child needs to be contacted, there are many means through district communication to be able to contact that child. A Jefferson parent feels that these are the new days and electronics are necessary. A Thornton parent and guardian actually was a former teacher and left their career of teaching in 22 years because of the accountability issues with cell phones and smartphones. We have a parent from Terra Nova who felt that cell phones are too disruptive and supports the bell-to-bell ban. And then finally, given how addictive smartphones are, a Westmore parent supports taking them away.
I spoke to Principal Carey a few times over the last year to learn about Terra Nova's implementation of the Yonder pouches. And my understanding from Principal Carey is the board has heard about this recently, and you've heard a lot about it from their school site council meeting and another presentation from Principal Carey. We had the admin team, or the admin come and talk to our committee as a whole, and they shared anecdotes and the first months of implementation, and it was very compelling, the information that they gave us during that meeting. So we heard these very positive anecdotes about their community and the impact of it at Terra Nova. We also wanted to share some comments from Terra Nova staff that came from our survey. So we pulled a couple slides here with their comments. Terra Nova staff shared that that the Yonder pouches are working, that that overall they believe it's one of the best things that's happened at Terra Nova, one person said, and they believe it's because it's a clear and consistent policy for everyone to understand. A few more positive comments from Terra Nova staff is that the staff state of the significant success and that students seem more focused. We have a TN staff stating that the Yonder pouches were successfully implemented. And the last comment is on the slide says that teachers have enough to monitor, so adding phones doesn't help, which we heard on other parts of the comments within the survey, which we just heard from a Westmore comment. So for today, the committee had lots of conversations about both sides of the argument, including conversations about the benefits of cell phone use for instructional tools and the potential harm of cell phone use. Ultimately, the committee made recommendations to the current board policy to limit cell phone usage during instructional time. And the main points that you'll see in the changes is that we added language on how smartphones interfere with school success within the policy. We put that smartphones and other mobile communication devices are to be turned off and put away during instructional time. Smartphones cannot be on a student's person, so not in their pocket. So in their backpack or in a Yonder pouch or in a wall pouch. We also added language as what is an emergency because that felt ambiguous. Oops. So overall, so that's the main points of the redlining part. But then we had additional conversations about it, us as a committee as a whole, because we reviewed policy, we looked at research, we looked at the survey data, we discussed the positive impact, the negative impact, and we heard from TN that by the end, the committee did believe that the best thing for students would be a bell-to-bell ban of smartphones. And the committee had, the best way to put it is lively discussions about what to bring to the board about the recommendation. We were discussing if we should bring a bell-to-bell ban recommendation to the board. We had arguments that included that we should be recommending what's best for students. And then we had other arguments saying that we didn't do enough legwork throughout the district to make that recommendation at this point. So we came to a point to recommend no smartphones during instructional minutes. However, we did have people who really didn't agree with this recommendation and did not want to be connected with this recommendation. So based on all of these discussions, we want to share with the board that we feel a bell-to-bell ban is what's best for students, social interactions in schools, and for academics. However, just to be clear, for today, we are recommending a limitation of smartphones just during instructional minutes. So although we're not recommending a board policy of a bell-to-bell ban, we do feel strongly that school sites should explore the possibility of a bell-to-bell ban that could work at their school. That school sites create space in staff meetings for professional development about adolescent smartphone usage. That school sites create their own nuanced policy within the umbrella standards of the district policy, and that the district creates procedures on how to respond to media created of district stakeholders, especially with AI and other deep fake modification. And with that, I just want to thank everyone on the committee for the additional work, the additional time and energy it took to put this all together.
Any questions or comment?
I actually, if I could jump in, I'm sorry. I may have misspoke because the items said that we were looking at recommendations for an updated board policy, but Did you guys include a red line or not at this point yet?
I did.
You did. Okay. It didn't get uploaded, so that's okay. So we will.
I have it if you want it, but I only have 2 copies. Sorry.
That's okay. I think we just generally talk about your recommendations, and then we'll have to bring that back as a discussion item at our next.
Oh, okay.
Oh, a discussion item and action item?
We could do that, or we could do the 2-step like we typically do, where it's discussion and then on consent in the next
We would
meeting.
need to see the red line.
You need to see the red line before you can do anything. Yes.
But we can right now discuss what we heard, right? Okay, let's make sure.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from our student advisors on this a little bit, on what they think about this from what they've heard tonight.
As a Terra Nova student who has been right in there with all the yonder pouches and everything, I will say that even though a lot of students, especially at the beginning, did not like the yonder policy, myself included, every student didn't. However, I will say from being in the Terra Nova community has definitely helped with student focus. And I do feel like there are more students talking to each other and there's more school interaction. However, I would say that there's definitely still a lot of people not paying attention, and definitely still kids that get their phones out, break the yonder, don't lock it or anything. But I mean, it served its purpose, but I don't know. I think it's good, but I feel like there's also better ways we could figure it out without having to like have people pay if they break it and stuff. I don't know. Students are really destructive, so it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's good, but it's never going to be perfect.
Just a point of information, I may have paid for a broken yonder pouch.
Any of the other students like to comment on it? What do you guys think? I know some of you guys don't have this implemented at your schools yet.
I was just wondering, do the yonder pouches have like an emergency like opening, like during emergencies? Is it like possible to like open all of them, or like?
So my understanding from Principal Carey is that each teacher has an ability to unlock in case of an emergency, and they have portable unlocking devices that they can take on an evacuation as well.
Yeah, I also think there are certain stations around the school that actually have these little unlocking devices too, that I'm sure all the students are aware of it by now. So I think there's definitely quick ways to get your phone unlocked if you needed to do that.
And I've heard they're breakable as well.
Mr. Tam's question sparks a question in my mind. It's still one at a time, though, even though there are many of them. It's one unlock at a time.
That's my understanding.
Okay, thanks.
But at our Terra Nova school site meeting, Ms. Carey and some of the teachers described how, because I was thinking, if I had one in my phone at the end of the school day, I'm going to be looking around for the person who can unlock it, and I'm going to want to get on my phone right away. But apparently it's pretty quick because they have all these different people stationed around. Is that correct?
That's definitely correct. We have multiple unlocking stations across the school. So some of them like in our new building, some of the old building in the halls, and they're usually pretty regularly opened like right as school ends. I've never had an issue. Usually I'm on like the second floor of our new building and I still get my phone unlocked before like 3:31. And we have like our like security guards also have unlocking like stations that they hold, and a lot of students go to there as well. And for the one for emergencies, each classroom has a yonder unlocking thing inside that you can use.
I'm really glad that Terra Nova piloted this and worked this all out. And I'll reserve my remarks till after our students is.
I'm not someone that tends to use my phone in class too much, but I think that it could help Jefferson in a lot of ways. I do see a sizable amount of our community probably not talking. Like I know my advisory class, like it isn't really that social. So I think it could help bring people together a little bit. I also think that helping pay attention is a possible idea. But I just wanted to ask if there was any other policies besides a yonder pouch that have been explored a little bit more.
So yonder pouches aren't going to live within a policy. It's the bell-to-bell ban, and the how would be really up to the school sites. So other school sites that we looked on did a bell-to-bell ban, but it's like a put-away ban, like it has to be in your backpack or something.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's it. Yeah. First of all, thank you for taking on the daunting task of kind of leading up this committee for this policy, because we all know that it's a very sensitive subject when it comes to taking away your device that everybody kind of depends on. That being said, though, it is something that I know personally, having teenagers myself and having seen that progression of cell phone use since they've become, one-stop shops in a sense. It's very concerning. And I know that it's got to be distracting at the school sites, because I know the kids are on them. I see it. I've seen it myself. So, I mean, I'm in favor of the bell-to-bell ban. I don't know how I think some of the remarks made about the no-show part of it is going to be, that's the part where, like a teacher saying we can't be responsible for, policing that. The yonder pouch kind of resolves that issue in a sense, is not how, that's obviously up to, each school site, like you said, but I mean, that just seems like the better way to go. I was just curious real quick. Now, is this something, this no cell phone policy, is something that the instructors will have to follow as well, to kind of lead by example as far as for the students? So, teachers aren't pulling out their phones in front of their, kids and stuff like that. I mean, how far does this go as far as like?
Well, my thought is we didn't necessarily specifically speak to that, but as teachers and adults, we model proper behavior. And if the rule is to not use cell phones during instructional time, I think that modeling would help to help students comply and to see the proper way.
For sure. I just think, the challenge is to get this started. I think that's going to be the hardest part. I think implementing it, getting it started, everybody, you're going to have your resistance. People are going to, they're going to balk at it. They're going to complain about it. But, we've sat down with Terra Nova and listened to them talk about exactly that, and then how much it has paid off. And, and just like our trustee said here, it's not going to be perfect. I think we all understand that. But I just think it needs to happen. I don't think there's any, any question about it. Thank you again. Good luck. I really hope this kind of, comes to fruition here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for leading the committee, and thank you, committee members, for all your hard work. I know that this was a lot of extra time, but it's clear that there was a lot of thought and discussion put behind this. So I really do appreciate that. I too am in favor of following your recommendation on the bell-to-bell ban and leaving it to the individual sites to determine the best course of action. Although, Terra Nova's first semester data certainly is compelling, as Principal Cherry shared with us at our last board meeting, about, when you look at the percentage of ninth graders who failed at least one class, looking over at the year-over-year data from 24-25 to 25-26. And in 24-25, 29.4% of the ninth graders failed at least one class in the first semester. And this year, only 6.89%. And that's a significant drop. And with the 10th graders, it went from 7.4% to 5.2%. It's really hard to argue against that data. So, to the extent I personally, if I were to write the AR for this, I would say we should do the yonder pouches, but I do believe that it is up to each school site to determine the best course of action. And and frankly, you do something one year, if it doesn't work, you try something else, right? That's the beautiful thing. But let's leave but I do think we do need to go to that bell-to-bell no cell policy.
Thank you to the committee. Thank you very much for this really important work. And for, diving right into this on May 28th, when you've had a long year, and here you are taking on this committee work at the end of a long school year. I really thank you for that. And for your candor and the lively discussions. But I also think that it was really important that you take everybody's opinions in consideration, and that the survey results are really interesting. So I'm seeing that not every school is different. So for you, I am in favor of the bell to bell, but for you to give the wiggle room for each school site to determine how that's done, and what works best for them is good. And then I have a question for Ms. Van Raphorst. For the Yonder pouch, is that a school site funds, or is that a general or tech bond?
That's a great question. If it's a district recommendation, the district would cover the costs.
Good. That's good for the schools. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the red line. Sorry, wasn't on here. And I'm just, thank you so much for being so thoughtful. And this is probably not a popular thing that's going to happen in the schools, but, I think it's worthwhile because we're all on our screens too much, I think. So when I get that pop-up that tells me how much screen time I've had during the day, I think, oh gosh, this is embarrassing. But it doesn't count. I sit in front of a computer all day long, and sometimes it's 2 hours and I realize I haven't gotten up. And imagine our students in front of a screen all day. And that actually puts stress on your body as well as your eyes. But then also I'm thinking of how we had incorporated phones in the classroom, like, voting on Kahoot, that kind of thing. And I thought that was a creative way to use technology, use the phones as, tools. But there are a lot of things on the phone. And so I just want to thank you all for all of your thoughtful work on this. Thank you very much.
So I'm the worst with my phone. I told myself I wouldn't use my phone when I was on the board, sitting up here, and I do. I told myself when I became president, I wouldn't use my phone up here, and I think doing pretty good, except for today, my medical alarm went off, which just goes to show how much you need your phone for nowadays, right? You go for a medical treatment, they're like, hey, look at this great app. You can put it on your phone, it'll tell you what's going on. And so even when I'm sitting up here paying attention, doing what I'm supposed to do, it's like this, the notifications, which are noted in your presentation, are so intrusive, not only to me, but definitely for Rosie and maybe for other people, because I'm beeping and I'm like, please stop beeping.
Take your pulse.
So I'm glad that we are talking about how we can make this better for students, because it's so distracting. And I think it's kind of ironic. One of the things that happens to me with my phone, and maybe it happens to you, is people want to get in contact with me and want to, what's going to happen after work today, or what's going to happen this weekend, or, who's picking up the kids. And sometimes very important communication where we have the gift of being able to communicate so quickly with people who are so far away or so close that we stop planning. I don't know what you do. Sorry. I have stopped planning things. I've stopped making certain that I have quality work time. I work in this odd environment where, a grown man will come into my office, but start talking when he's 4 steps outside. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm going to get interrupted. I work in this odd work environment where people are expecting me to work and I'm texting away, and it's a problem. It's a problem. So just thank you for taking this into consideration, figuring out what's best for our students, even if they don't like it. If someone did it for me, I would, even if I didn't like it, it would be great for me. So let's hope I'm confident we're doing the right thing. And so I'm not going to hope I'm right. I'm confident that there's a good solution at the end of this.
Thank you to everyone on the committee. I do want to clarify for the board that the red line does not recommend a bell-to-bell ban. It encourages school sites to explore the bell-to-bell ban, but it does require that phones be put away during instructional time. That's what the red line will say. As you heard the committee, there were a lot of opinions, and that was the red line that everyone was able to agree on. And again, as it was mentioned, this is not something that needs to stay exactly as is, but can be adapted year or whenever the board feels like ready to move to a different plan. But I heard a lot of support for the bell-to-bell ban, so I felt like I needed to clarify that the red line is not actually going to require a bell-to-bell ban at each school unless the board makes direction at this point for us to change the red line, or you can consider that when we actually bring the red line to you, which again, I apologize. I feel terrible that the committee is all here and the red line is not here for you to see. But we will make sure that comes on the next meeting.
Yeah, I just think it's important that we have uniformity, across the district. I don't think if you got a group of students at one school complaining about how they're being restricted, and then it's not the same at the other school, that's going to create a problem, I think. So I think that's why I think you kind of feel more, a little bit more of a mutual support for the bell to bell. And I'm just curious, just one last question I've been thinking about, what are from your surveys and from all your time talking about this, what are the biggest standout cons or nays that people are bringing up about a bell-to-bell policy?
Well, I can speak to Jefferson specifically. There was a lot of concern about students having the ability to have translators in order to be able to access curriculum and be able to communicate in class. There was concern from parents about the ability to contact their child in the case of an emergency. And there were some concern, although this is already implemented in the policy, for students who may need it for an IEP.
Also, there was discussion about teachers using it as an instructional tool.
So if we could find a way to supplement that, maybe we could figure something else out.
Do you want to?
I think we can all hear. Yeah.
It's for the people at home.
Oh, yeah.
It's for my mom and dad. They're
Okay. We also talked about teaching students executive functioning as well. My name's Sasha. I'm from Thornton High School. I'm an English teacher. Hi, Edward.
Nice to meet you.
So we talked about that, especially counselors needing to kind of teach some of our students about how to do that. And we also talked about how we're a lot of younger people are not developing those skills, and it's being seen at colleges and in the career. So even kids are losing opportunities to job opportunities right now as they're graduating from college because they don't have that executive functioning and they're not able to perform to their top ability in school, at jobs. And we had the conversations about not being able to communicate that to the kids.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I just had a question regarding what you were saying about the funding. If in the red line, I understand it's technical, but what I'm curious about is if we keep the wiggle room thing that we were discussing in terms of each site, but if you were to figure out a way that the board would agree on that they would allocate the funds for the under pouches, would that be under the stipulation that all the schools would have to do the under pouches, or could some draw from that fund? And if the money just stays there, it stays there. I don't know if that's like an official question, but I just needed some clarity on that. I could sit down. I'm gonna listen.
Yeah. I don't know that I have a clear answer. I think my answer is that the district will ensure the schools have what they need to implement their policy. And I don't think that there would be like a pot to pull from. I think if the school wasn't going to implement something, that money would be redirected to some other important purpose. We always have more need than we have funds. So you're welcome.
I just had a quick question about if there were like any ways to prevent like burner phones, or if you know like if any students were using like burner phones for the under pouches.
If I have to bet on a student compared to a policy, my bet is on the student figuring out a way through the policy. So yes, I would imagine there's burner phones. I imagine students breaking something. I imagine students figuring things out, because students are really smart.
Yeah, there were accounts of that happening. So it's, yeah. There's a will, there's a way. They'll figure it out.
I actually, that sparked a question I had while you were talking. So I know that this committee has chosen not to, maybe not, I don't know what kind of power you have to, but I guess we have the power.
It's a recommendation.
Sorry, thinking out loud. Excuse me. My question is, did the committee consider any type of software solution for this? I don't know that it exists.
I'm not sure that we are aware of a software solution.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thanks. Anyone else? More questions?
Lastly, it's actually, Mr. Vader, I'm glad that you brought back sort of the Jeff perspective, because it brings me back to that slide again. That kind of shows what the response was with staff. So we do need to be sensitive to the reactions from each of the sites. Clearly, 4 of the sites are on board, at least at a much higher percentage than the Jefferson staff. So I think it's going to be, a softer approach with bell to bell. And with that flexibility is probably going to be required at this point. It's one of those things where we're going to see what works. If we start seeing significant successes at the other 3 sites, where they're maybe going to a slightly more stringent policy, whereas Jeff might have a slightly softer policy by comparison, but we see really good data come through, it's going to be pretty compelling and be pretty difficult for us to allow that to continue in a different way without going to a full district-wide policy that's bell to bell. But I think at this point, it's given that how new all of this is, and that we are exploring another new world here, a softer approach with regards to this policy is probably what we need, at least as of today. A year from now, we could have a completely different conversation.
Cell phones, the final frontier. Thank you very much. Oh, you're coming up. Please.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Kenline. I'm a teacher at Jefferson, so maybe my opinion might be valued at this point. One thing we came up with that resonated with me is that at least at Jeff, we need more education. We need more research about the pros and the cons of having phones in school. The kids have tabs. I often go through and look at their Chromebooks and say, okay, you don't need 13 tabs, close them, right? We're working on maybe 2, 3 tabs. So they're already using their screen time with the laptops. We absolutely use a lot of QR codes and quick functions. Yeah, we could change our way. But I think for parents and teachers as well, based on the results of our survey, we would need to spend significant time educating as a whole the pros and cons of student use of phones. That's my opinion. And that's what resonates from my time on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. This is an achievement of work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all your hard work.
Don't get too comfortable, Principal Torres.
We need to recess for.
10B1 is the school spotlight of Oceana High School. Ms. Baca.
Good evening, President Walker. Good evening, members of the board. Here I present to you again the spotlight of the night, Ms. Principal Marita Torres, who will share the great things that is happening at Oceana High School. Ms. Torres.
So good to be here tonight. And thank you for hearing from me for so much. I'm going to be talking about, sorry, let me get my mind all together. I'll be sharing information about Oceana tonight. Tonight, I want to review the SIPSA and WASC alignment that we've been doing in the last few years. I want to go over some glows and grows. I want to take this opportunity to talk about special education, and then just a quick view of 25-26 school year. So over the last 4 years or so, Oceana leadership has worked a lot of aligning our WASC and SIPSA goals, the school plan for student achievement, to improve how we're engaging with our goals. So we have 5 goals that were approved in May for the school year, and our goals include refining best practices to decrease rates of Ds and Fs, increase meaningful connections within our community, increase math proficiency, enhance teaching and learning, anti-racism and social justice, and to improve the use of data. We're still refining on how we're engaging with our goals, action items, and data, but this year it feels more thoughtfully talked about throughout the school year. So at the beginning of the school year, our school site council looked at the goals and actions to be aware of our SIPSA and made suggestions on the action items. The certificated staff also looked at the goals and action items within learning areas to remind people what our school is working on and the responsibilities of the learning area. Soon in April, we'll be reviewing data as a staff and then in school site council meeting to assess how we're doing within our goals. And then in May, school site council will approve next year's SIPSA to see if anything needs to be adjusted. So it took us a few years to get to this cycle. And at this point, it feels like a good system that we're using to continuously look at our goals data and to have time to think about on how we're improving it for student growth. So I'm really happy about that. So the first glow I am really happy to share is our senior exhibition. So with the work of the senior exhibition coordinator, senior humanities teacher, in collaboration with the district, every Oceana graduate earns the state seal of civic engagement due specifically to our senior exhibition project. So this seal is earned by demonstrating understanding of civic knowledge, civic skills, and action, quality student reflection, and have testimony of student civic mindedness. This is also my not so shameless plug to invite all of you to senior exhibition this year, which is Friday, March 27th, 2026. Please come. You can come as an observer, or if you would like, you can also be a community evaluator. We have training on March 11th for community members. Our senior exhibition coordinator will invite the board and district folks to come and join us later as it gets closer. This is literally my favorite day of the school year, and it's a big celebration. So I hope I see some or all of you guys there. So as I was looking at our data to see what I wanted to share tonight, I was happy to pull our chronic absentee rate. Students who are determined to be chronically absent, if they were absent for 10% or more of the days they were expected to attend school. So in a school year, this means being absent for a total of 18 days. Our rate has historically been lower than the state, but I wanted to highlight that if we're comparing ourselves from 21-22 to last school year, we have decreased our absentee rate. I also pulled out 3 student groups to highlight. It's clear that we still have work for us to do, as always, but overall the trend of the rate is decreasing, which is a positive thing to see. Each year, we're trying to continuously improve our practices in addressing absences. We've gotten better at pulling weekly reports to identify students who are absent. We are also getting better at communicating with one another of who is conferencing with the students and family about absences. And again, I do think there's more work to do and more improvement we can do, but we are trying to create a systems where we're checking in with students and families regarding excessive absences. Another highlight I would like to share is our A through G rate. Over the year, we've been above the state average and currently at 80% from last school year. Oceana being over 75% for the last 3 years is really something to celebrate. I think there are a few reasons why we have this A through G rate. We have a very strong Spanish program where many students are going to a higher level Spanish course. We also have a number of students who take community college courses to help them become A through G eligible. And most of our classes are college prep courses, which means they can be used to become A through G eligible. As you can see, I pulled out 3 student groups with an overall upward trend, but I caution you to take these with a grain of salt, particularly our English learners or multilingual learners percentage. As the 24-25 school year, it was 80% because we had 4 out of 5 of our students who are A through G eligible. So we'll continue to track to see how our students do in the coming years. So one piece of data that when I first looked at, I was like, wow, that looks amazing. Our graduation rate is a higher rate than the state average, which should be celebrated. The staff works very hard to support students towards graduation. And with the alternate pathway to a diploma, I'm anticipating this percentage to increase as well. The alternative pathway to a diploma is a pathway for our students in the extensive support need program to earn a diploma. As I dug into this data and reviewed student groups, it was clear that there is still work to be done. We had a graduation rate decrease for all these student groups that you see up here, which includes our multilingual language, our English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and students who identify as Hispanic or Latino. Again, look at these percentage with a little bit of cautious when you think about the actual numbers, which I have a few of them here. Last year, we had 17 out of 22 students identified as Latino Hispanic earning a high school diploma. 5 out of 11 students, which the state says are English learners. 61 out of 68 who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Again, I'm anticipating these percentages to change in the coming years due to the alternative pathway to a diploma. This next slide is zooming into the data that we just looked at. It's the graduation rate for our multi-language learners and our Hispanic students. It's an overall decline over the last few years and that we should be paying attention to. And as I keep saying, I'm really curious what this is going to look like in a couple of years with the new pathway. Another grow is students with disabilities meeting the A through G requirement. I think it was helpful to review the actual numbers, so I put them on this slide. We have, last year we had 3 out of 11 students with disabilities eligible for A through G. This may be an area for us to review as we consider action items and goals for next school year. And like I said in the beginning, I thought this would be a good opportunity to take a little look at our special education population because it has changed in the last few years. Over the past few years, we've moved from 14% to 23% of our population with a student who has an IEP, which is up almost every year since 21-22. We have 2 programs at Oceana. We have the mild moderate program, which are students mostly in general education classes. And we also have the extensive support need program, which is a program for students requiring significant support due to their disability. Our overall number of students is growing and our overall percentage is also increasing. So some of the things we're doing in special education is that we have a teacher with an inclusion specialist section to focus on supporting students from the ESN program into the general education classes. We have more paraprofessionals than we've had in any year, and they're placed in more general education classes than previously, including our after-school rock band class. With the inclusion specialist support, he is running meetings that include the teacher and the paraprofessionals supporting a particular class. This was started last school year, and we've seen some success in that collaboration time. We're trying to provide more professional development to paras during the Wednesday student short day compared to previous years. We have co-teaching sections that are very successful in supporting students accessing curriculum. Lastly, this year we are piloting a push-in, push-out model for the 9th and 10th grade science. Our school as a whole is talking more and more about how to support students who have an IEP and ensuring collaboration is happening between teachers, learning areas, and paraprofessionals. All right, so looking at this school year, we have a few new classes. We have the rock band, which is actually a class that started last school year. This is an after-school class where students create a band with other students and learn how to play together. We also have 3D art. As we were reviewing our art classes in the last couple of years, it became this class became something that more students were interested in. We learned from surveys that students were interested in ceramics, which we offered last year, and then it evolved to 3D art, which is happening this year. We also have Senior X Seminar, which has been offered for many, many years, but this school year we've changed it. Previously, the class was only offered to students with 3 AP classes or more, but we wanted this course to be more targeted for students who needed the support for senior exhibition, so we opened it up to all students. This year, we started an after-school tutoring program, which was developed by a math teacher and a counselor, and it is staffed by student tutors. We started a student equity team in September with the support of Dan Arzaga. and have been meeting about once a month. It's a small group of students who developed a focus and are thinking about how to move forward into next school year. Lastly, our instructional focus this year is collaborative learning. Our staff has been interested in thinking about collaborative learning, and this year our instructional coaches are leading this work through a few staff meetings and the March PD and working individually with teachers. So over the last year, we've been working on improving things around the building, and it has been noticeable. We did upgrades to our theater, which included painting it, getting new carpet, updating the sound system, and recently updating the lights. We have been upgrading new cabinets and sinks in the staff lounge and 2 of the copy rooms. Our visual and performing arts teacher curated 2 new welcome murals. That one is still in development. And lastly, we've been working with the district to update our signage. Oceana is sometimes challenging to navigate through, so our district connected us with a signage company that specializes in getting people around challenging areas. So we've been working with them on figuring out what that's going to look like, and we're looking forward to that actually getting to the campus. That end.
Thank you. Thank you. Comments?
Sure.
Mr.
I'll start.
Gallegos?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for the presentation. It's always good to hear, how things are going at the school sites and all the hard work you guys are putting into your sites and in the education for the kids. And I went to the Senior X last year, so I took part in that, and I have to say I was very impressed with what I saw the kids, how hard they worked on some of that stuff and the way they were able to present it and what I learned. I learned a lot sitting in on some of those presentations, so that was really neat. I plan on doing it this year too. So it's also good to see that you have a good decline in your absenteeism. I know that's a huge thing that we've, tried to emphasize as far as things that we know would help, with student outcomes, right? Just getting kids to show up at school, and whether that be to no fault of their own or just, getting them to be interested in school. Some kids just, don't find it that interesting. So it's good to see that. Also good to see the grad rate as high as it is too. It's always nice that, anytime you get a big cohort of kids to graduate all at once is awesome. So the glows and the grows are cool. The grows obviously pointing out where you want to emphasize kind of putting more work into, like supporting your special education and your Latino population are awesome. Looking forward to seeing how that translates, obviously. We know, I think, district-wide that we kind of have those same challenges in other school sites and stuff like that. So if we can learn something from you as you go through that process, maybe we can translate that onto the other sites. So thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it, and the presentation.
Okay, great presentation. Thank you. Question. Well, first, let me just say that the 100% state seal of civic engagement is amazing. That's crazy. That's ridiculously awesome. With regards to the Latino population and the chronic absentee rate dropping, right, or increasing, I should say, in 24-25, the data shows that you went from 11% 23-24 up to 14% 24-25. And you also look, and you can see that the A through G rate also dropped for that same cohort of kids to 65%, and the grad rate also dropped 77%. Do you believe that there could be an impact with regards to the absenteeism rate may have had an impact on that? What have you been able to see if you dig into that particular cohort of graduates?
I don't know. Honestly, I would see a correlation between the two. If students aren't there getting the content straight from the teachers, then they can't, it's challenging for them to progress towards passing their classes and getting above that C rate. So I think it's a population that we have continuously trying to focus on. I know I didn't share math data, but usually our math data with the Latino Hispanic population has always been challenging to see and to kind of focus in on, and trying to figure out the right action items that we can maintain. This is the first year that we've done after school tutoring, and it's focused on math, which I didn't share. And it went out to science, but it was focusing on math because of the math data that we've seen with our Hispanic and Latino population.
Do you have any data on the current year with regards to their chronic absenteeism rate?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm just curious to see if there's been an improvement or whether, current conditions in our world is impacting the attendance of that particular cohort of students. So just trying to understand a little bit, but thank you. It's helpful. And I'm glad, I know you're focused on that student subgroup, given the data and everything. And thank you for that work.
Hello for your third presentation tonight. Thank you again. This was a really amazing presentation you gave us in only 12 slides, and providing us data and then disaggregated by subgroup. I really appreciate that, because it also says that you looked at it, an overview, but then you said, let me look even deeper. And that's what you're also showing us. Let me dig a little deeper into that, because maybe it's not what it seems. And I appreciate that, because that also says a lot about how you run the school, how you care about your population. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And then with the graduation rate, you said something about you expect that the numbers might change because in the future there'll be alternative pathways to diplomas. What would that be?
Yeah, so that's a new state law where we're offering our students in the extensive support needs an alternative pathway to diploma. And the way that our program was already set up and how don't get me wrong, it's been challenging to implement it, but because of the structure of our ESN program previously, we're able to have all of our students go onto that pathway. Right now, we're transitioning, so it's like we have to have IEPs to make sure that students and families are on board that they want to change from a certificate to alternative to a diploma. And kind of understanding the difference of that. But as we get our incoming ninth graders into that program, it will be like an automatic into the alternative pathway to diploma. And the IEP team can decide that doesn't work for them, and they can change it to a certificate. But right now it's like auto to certificate, and we have to change it. But as our incoming ninth graders come in, it'll be auto to the alternative pathway to diploma. And then if the IEP team wants to change it, they can change it.
Great. That's great.
So I also have, I'm also wondering if that's going to impact our A through G rates as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is giving the ESN students, having higher expectations and giving them, they're always such, I would think, low expectations of students who have to work harder. But if you set the bar higher, I'm sure they can achieve it. And that says something about how you view things. I really think you care a lot about your students. And so I want to thank you for giving us a focus on special education. I had no idea how big it has grown at Oceana. And really an eye opener for me. In that, let's see. Could you give me a little bit more about the push in, push out? Is that what you were just describing?
Yeah, no, that's not what I was
No?
just describing. But
Okay.
the ninth and 10th grade science.
Yeah.
So there's two. We have two teachers. One teacher teaches the 9th grade science class, and one teacher teaches the 10th grade science class. And then we have a special education teacher, and their learning area wanted to pilot a push in, push out. And they feel like it's going well for that learning area. But they still want more information more data to kind of figure out how it's going. But basically the special education teacher is able to pull students out of those science classes to work with them individually, or he's going into the classes to support them or watch them, figuring out what obstacles that needs to be removed for them to be successful. And he uses his prep and his case management prep and that period. So there's 3 periods across the school day that he can try to give those students support. So again, it's the first year we're giving it a try and seeing how it works. The science department likes how it's going so far, so we'll see.
How did you come up with that?
It would, everything at Oceana is in collaboration with the staff. We really come up with things together. That's the beauty of site-based leadership. And so it really came from that learning area and kind of figuring out.
Yeah. Just over the years, looking at what they've noticed with all those different students and deciding, well, what if we try this? And that's how it is there.
Yeah. And the increase of students with IEPs in the 9th and 10th grade.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, boy, a lot of good stuff happening there. Thank you so much for this great presentation and for your leadership.
Thank you. This reflects a lot of good work.
I'm sorry. I also want to please thank your staff for us.
This reflects a lot of great work by everyone at Oceana. Congratulations. I just have a few questions. The seal of civic engagement is any part of that related to, every graduate gets one, is any part of that related to the community service requirement?
No, no, that's something different. No, but I will take this opportunity to say that our students in the ESN program also do the senior exhibition, and they earn this state seal of civic engagement as well. That's just a plug.
You mentioned, we talked a little about senior exhibition. Do you still have underclass people do exhibitions as well?
Yes.
Okay. I attended as a parent, but never as a board member. I will look for that. You talked about the students with disabilities A through G rate. And I really like data. And I think that big numbers are really powerful. In this case, you have small numbers, and I think those can be really powerful too. And I don't know whether or not you do this, and frankly, I'm not sure of the impact, but I have this idea in my head where I think one of your slides said there were 11 people that you counted in this population. Like if you have 11 of them, you could say, hey, all right, let's find out from each of them, maybe not verbally, maybe through a team effort, talk to the teachers, talk to the parents, talk to the student, kind of what's holding them back from making the A through G achievement? And maybe it's not something bad, maybe, you're about to say something, please. Dave.
Yeah. I mean, that happened, that conversation kind of happens in every IEP meeting of because we're presenting the options of to be A through G eligible and not, and every student is different on figuring out if that's the pathway for them or not. I wish I had data from those IEP meetings and something that would take a lot of work, but it would be interesting to see. But yeah, those conversations do happen with every student and at every year at their annual IEP. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And you talked a little bit about your graduation rate, which I think is fantastic. Do you know when students don't graduate from Oceana after attending their senior year, kind of what the causes are?
What the causes are to
why they don't end up graduating? Is it, oh, you don't have enough math credits? Or is it, oh, you didn't get the community service requirement, or there's a problem with your senior X?
My experience, and I'm pulling experience as when I was a counselor as well, is that it's a combination of things. Okay. Yeah. Usually it's not just one single thing, but it's a combination of not gaining the community service hours, not being on track with senior exhibition, maybe having failing some other classes, and then coming in spring semester of senior year being like, oh my goodness, now I have all of this to do. Right. So again, that's just observational though.
Observational is part of the scientific process, right? It's important. And a related question, when having a difficult time forming a population, but the idea is, people go to Oceana, they attend, and at the end of senior year, it looks like they're not going to graduate from Oceana. What happens to them? Do they eventually graduate from somewhere? Do they attend GED programs? Do they just move on?
We typically they go to senior studies and graduate at the end of senior studies, which is the district summer school.
Right. I've even been to that ceremony. Never made that connection. Thank you. And congratulations.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Nice job. Great highlights of your school. You should be very proud. I have nothing else to add.
Yay.
Right on. That will conclude the Oceana Night portion of tonight's meeting. Come back and see us, Principal Torres. We'd like to consider any future agenda items.
I do have one potential. We'll just have to see how things go this week, but we did receive, or I certainly did, and I think Trustee Tejada did too, through some of our school board partner colleagues, with regards to a resolution that would encourage our members of Congress to withhold funding from the Department of Homeland Security. We have the language. We'll bring it to you for consideration.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Let's entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got it.